The world is an old place, dating back at around 4.5 billion years. Over the years, it has seen a lot of different time periods. It has been there with a dinosaur, it has been there through the Stone Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age, and basically every other age. But gradually, our world has adapted to the needs of us humans, thanks to the hands of great innovators and thinkers. Imagine a time where every hour brought a new challenge, and now we control everything around us with extreme ease. What made this possible? Today, Purple Hippo brings you the 10 inventions that changed the world. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to Purple Hippo and ring that bell icon to get regular updates on the latest and most enthralling videos. Number 10 is the camera. The invention of camera took place in a series of steps, and its first goal wasn't actually to capture images and preserve them for a very long time. Rather, it was used to study optics. Camera obscuras were hence the first development of cameras invented. This model was made primarily to teach people about the phenomenon of light passing through a tiny hole in one wall and the projection of an image onto the opposing wall. Ibn Al-Haytham, an Arab scholar, was the first creator of the obscura. Moving on, it was in 1829 that when Louis Daguerre succeeded in the art of developing practical photography. This technology was in turn sold to the French government. It was Alexander Walcott in 1840 who created the first camera that took pictures which did not fade quickly. So the real inventor of the camera is considered to be Alexander. Number 9 is the refrigerator. So imagine this. Imagine having a scrumptious dessert and not being able to finish it because you're very full. Doesn't it sound too bad? Well, then imagine not being able to refrigerate this dessert and having to throw it away instead. Did that break your heart? Exactly. This was life before refrigeration. So we really aren't surprised as to find this invention in our list. Though a real technology didn't exist, people took part in artificial refrigeration, which began in the mid-1750s and developed further in the early 1800s. People used to preserve their food using blocks of ice or via keeping it in a cool and dry place or hanging pots of food from the ceiling to make sure that they have air pass through it. The first working vapor compression refrigeration system was built in 1834, followed by the invention of the commercial ice-making machine in 1854. However, it wasn't until 1913 that refrigerators for home use were invented. Number 8 is the telephone. In our opinion, telephones are the innovation of the century. We mean, can you even imagine an hour without the means of communicating with someone? What if there's an emergency? Or worse, what if your Snapchat streaks are on timer? The nightmare! Telephones were the brainchild of Alexander Graham Bell and were invented in 1876. He first started working on the harmonic telegraph, which is a device that allowed multiple messages to be transmitted over a wire at the same time. While he was perfecting this technology, Bell got the idea of finding a way to transmit human voices over wires. Thus, with immense hard work, numerous failures, and with the help of his partner Thomas Watson, Bell finally managed to invent a telephone with a simple receiver that could turn electricity into sound. So thank you, Bell. Number 7 is the clock. Imagine not being able to tell time. How do you know if you're late? Or does the concept of late even exist then? Or just so confused? Anyway, before the great inventions of clock, people of the medieval ages used to calculate their time by dividing the days into 12 parts and using the sun and the moon to their aid. The first concept of measuring time came by the idea of sundials. However, it wasn't until 1930s that we got a proper measurement device. In 1930, Christian Huygens invented timekeeping devices such as the pendulum clock and spiral hairspring watch. At number 6, we have the automobiles. It is Carl Benz who gets the credit for inventing the first automobile. The history of automobiles, however, is a long and winding road with a lot of bumps. So let's take you down that road, shall we? In the early 1500s, Leonardo da Vinci sketched a horseless mechanic cart which sadly wasn't built in his lifetime. Moving on, sailing chariots that were propelled by wind were used in 1600s by the Chinese. Then we have a Frenchman, Nicolas Joseph Cugnot, who built a self-propelled vehicle with a steam engine. Then came a long chain of internal combustion engines, followed by electrical cars, and finally in 1886, Carl Benz patented the three-wheeled motor car. Oh, by the way, look closely at his surname. Reminds you of something? Let us know in the comments below. At number 5, we have the vaccines. Honestly, vaccines are the winner here. We can all live how hard it might be without inventions like cars, telephones, and etc. But one thing we cannot live without, however, is a vaccine. For it is something that our body needs to fight off viruses. Vaccine inventions was carried forth by a series of people over a series of timelines. It first started as early as 1000 CE and lasted late 1800s, when finally Louis Pasteur's 1885 rabies vaccine made an impact on human disease. Thus, I think it's safe to say that we owe many of our life to Louis Pasteur. Number 4, we have the personal computer. We know personal computers to be the sleek, comfortable designs that they are today. However, that is not how they started. In the beginning, they were these huge blocks of technology which took much space on your computer table than it does today. Trust us, it used to be very crowded. The first models of computers weren't personal at all. Instead, they required a team of engineers to run them. The hero of this story is a small firm, MITS, that succeeded in making the first personal computer, the Altair, in 1974. So today we owe much of our comfort to MITS and its team, because imagine using a computer which took 2,000 square feet of space. And yes, that's what the first computer did. At number 3, we have the airplanes. 7 continents, 5 oceans, and around 195 countries. This is how big our world is. We dream about different places, different foods, different locations, but do we ever dream about who made it possible to access these locations? Who invented airplanes? Let us see who did. It was the Wright brothers. Yes, we know that a lot of you might know this, so applause to all of you. These brothers dreamt about making an airplane when they were just as young as 7 years old. Moreover, their dream was inspired by a toy helicopter given to them by their father. Impressive, isn't it? So over the time, these brothers took over a lot of different jobs and learned all there was to know about flying. In 1900s, they were ready to test their first glider, which was a kite. They tested on various specimens until December 17th of 1903, when they finally succeeded and invented a model of the plane that actually flew. At number 2, we have the light bulb. The invention of the light bulb is perhaps the most famous one out there. For those of you who know who was behind this idea, see what I did there? Well done. Anyway, but for those of you who needed to be reminded, the first light bulb was created by Thomas Edison in 1879. Today, his invention is called as the most important invention since man-made fire. This is because by his invention of light, he helped establish social order after sundown, extended the workday well into the night, and allowed for navigation and travel safely in the dark. Mr. Edison surely did a fine job, didn't he? At number 1, we have the printing press. Printing press has a very interesting history. It was first invented by a political exile from Mainz, Germany, when he began experimenting with printing in France in 1440. Over the years, he developed it and perfected it and came back to Mainz after 10 years in 1950, with a machine perfected to use commercially. He called this the Gutenberg press. Today, a huge chunk of our lives is dependent on printing press. Our books, pamphlets, newspapers, clothing, license plate, coupons, and much of everything that we use on a daily basis is based on the printing press. Wow, these inventions really did change the world. Which of these inventions do you think is the most important? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, make sure to share this with your friends and subscribe to Purple Hippo and ring that bell icon to stay tuned to our next awesome content. Thanks for watching the 10 inventions that changed the world. Stay tuned until next time, folks.